Hello, marketers. Welcome to the new episode of Hashtag Marketers Lead Talk, a show for passionate marketers to listen and watch what industry stalwarts are having their take on various issues of sales, marketing, advertisement, and branding. An initiative of the Marketing Soul, a community of passionate marketers to learn, network, and grow. Today, we have Anibar Mukheti, Head Marketing Saint Gobain Gyprock, a seasoned marketer, a business leader, strategist, and an accomplished professional with 16 years of MNC experience in diverse leadership and strategic role in both marketing and sales, as well as technology domain. An excellent professional track record in area of marketing and brand activations, brand building, brand management, CRM, key account management, and he loves interaction on marketing and beyond. Welcome anyone on hashtag Marketers Lead Talk.
Thanks, Sachin. It's indeed a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Perfect, great. So today, khela hobe re?
Yeah, it's on. I think fourth phase is over, so there are four more phases.
Right, perfect,
The
perfect.
game is on.
Game is on. Perfect. Great. So
Yes.
let's start ours one. Seeking your inputs about the impact on the consumers, with respect to the COVID. So what has been the consumer behavior impact as of now? You must be, going through, or you have must have acknowledged that. So your thoughts on it.
Sure. So I'll address it from two angles. One angle is how consumers actually, when they faced COVID, how did they behave? What were the key behaviors? And specific to my industry, also, I'll give you some pointers. So I think in the first time in human history, this was unprecedented when people were stuck at home. Even in world wars, people were had the opportunity of going out. But this is the first time across the globe, two-thirds of humanity were stuck at home. So and when they were stuck at home, I think what happened was two things. One is they had to consume media because there were a lot of news floating around, a lot of uncertainty. So first and foremost, health and safety was of utmost priority. So they had to sort of take care of those aspects. People need to survive to consume. And the second part which was there was most of the people, I think predominantly most of the industries are not work from home. So overnight, people became work from home entities, and so they had to adapt to new technologies, etc. What also happened was while the TV consumption went up, the digital consumption also went up. People were spending as high as 4, 5, 6 hours on the digital media, and which basically led to a different type of consumption pattern. So because what happens is TV is more or less unidirectional in nature, but digital you have your choices, right? And the content had much more variety, so people were going to that. If you notice, I think OTT is something which picked up big time, because prior to pandemic, my understanding, it was a predominantly a metro phenomena. Post pandemic, it is now more widespread, more democratic. That's besides the point. In addition to that, I think people started exploring new modes to purchase because they had to consume. So starting with basic essentials, they started exploring online channels. If you look at how things change, some stats, first 2 months into the lockdown, e-commerce had 11% newcomers, new visitors. Okay, they have never explored e-commerce. That's one. Secondly, people who have explored new e-commerce, around 16%, one out of six, explored new categories. And now that is widespread. That number has now increased maybe to 30, 35, 40%, depending on the category. And categories which like grocery, etc., people, we never sort of could believe that people will not buy from physical store. But if you look at the uptick, something like a grocery, people are buying, a lot of it is being bought online. I think the brands also responded in a way. There are the concepts like skyrise marketing came into the picture when all the societies members got together, they pooled together the requirement, and then the retailers came came to their doorstep with the supply. So new modes of engagement came into the picture. If you look at consumer durables, generally e-commerce consumer durables very high offtake as far as online is concerned, but fashion, accessories, etc. was not there. There was a huge uptake. I think one thing which changed was online education. So people were hell bent previously on campus learnings, etc. So now I think this is going to stay. Okay, so online education, etc. So fundamentally, what I'm saying is there were new categories, and there were categories there was a huge offtake, and I don't think it will be reversed. So once people have experienced the convenience of buying online, that's going to stay. The other thing which also started happening was people were also looking for authentic brands, because in times of stress, you really look at authentic brands, but there were brands which were very opportunistic and claiming antiviral X, Y, Z, starting from you can consume to even switch on a fan to a light and something. How it happens, nobody knows. But so people actually saw through a lot of opportunistic brands. Parallelly, there were brands which opened up their hotels to COVID warriors, and they were genuinely like supportive, and they went beyond their so-called CSR budgets. So people noticed all those things. The other thing which started happening was also, if you notice, people have, first of all, we have realized that do we need to really consume so much? That's one, because we can manage with, I would say, a couple of pair or a couple of t-shirts and one pair of jeans and so on. Okay, do we really need so many things on our wardrobe? So which brings us to the point we have now started realizing, probably, and especially the millennials and the people who are even younger, they have started asking all these questions. Do we really need to consume so much? So environment and social capitalism consciousness, these are the things which are going to be of paramount importance. From a home decor perspective, which is our industry, Saint Gobain Jipra, and I think what we saw was people were stuck at home. I think there was one study by a reputed real estate consultant. First time in their lives, very busy couples, they spent so much time in their homes, and they found a lot of aesthetic issues in their homes. So they have done on the go a lot of stuff, and they realized, oh, it was not up to the mark. So from our side, what we saw was a lot of searches of our brand and category. It went up crazy. While there were no orders, because end of the day, physically there were restrictions, but people were searching. So the brands which were smarter, they came up with all the tools and the platforms to engage this audience, and then they leveraged that during the festive season, because the festive season, the pent-up demand, etc., came back in full force, and there was a lot of recovery. Now, unfortunately, we have phase two or COVID wave two. But I think these changes which happened, they are going to stay on. People are going to consume more and more online stuff. So predominantly brands of the future will have to look at hybrid models. It has to be omni-channel, in terms of you can't just rely only on a physical store. It has to be like I can buy in a physical store, get the product dropped at my home, or I can buy online, get it checked in a physical store, and so on. So that is how it looks like, and this is going to continue. The way we are going to learn is going to change. So we don't know really whether it is changed for the better or not. That time will tell. But I think still challenging times are ahead. Let's see.
Right. Yes, you are right. Since the second wave is around there, and lot many lockdowns and has been started up. So of course, it's a wait and watch would be a good situation to look forward to. Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. So, taking the discussion forward, would like to have your views on the media mix. So, know how I can ensure a maximizing reach of my product, and then probably I'll ask a follow up question on how we can do for a B2B and how we can do for B2C. So, first you can share about media mix as a common for maximizing reach.
So what I try to do is I'd rather bring the two aspects together, because it's like this.
Okay.
When you look at media per se, so you have to first take into consideration which category you are in. What is your product? Who is your target audience? What is the age group? What is the geography? Okay. And if it is B2C, is it mass? Is it luxury? Is it niche? And B2B has a different chain of, I would say, decision making. There is a bigger chain of influencers, maybe for us installers, architects or influencers, then somebody who is a client, then there is an occupant who occupies the space, and so on. That's how in real estate it happens. But as far as B2C is concerned, let's look at B2C. So I think it depends entirely on which segment you are in. So let me give you a few stats. So first of all, generally the notion nowadays is digital is picking up. बहुत digital campaign करते हैं. So I don't think we should look at as marketers, we should look at it from that angle. Let's look at a few stats. If you look at India, 2015 TAM data tells us around 170 to 180 million households in India having TV, which translates into an 800 to 850 million TV audience. Now let's look at Comscore 2020 data. unique digital audience in India is 405 million, which is half. So TV is going to give you a significantly bigger reach as opposed to digital. Of course, so now why digital? There are other aspects to it. So in digital, you can have better control over what you do. You can have much more robust metrics. You have far greater control in terms of changing your strategies, understanding and correcting your strategies mid-course, which probably is difficult to with a TV, which is more unidirectional in nature. But if you look at platforms also, if you look at individual platforms in digital, you look at something like a YouTube or a WhatsApp, 300 to 330 million sort of an audience. Okay, that's max. Okay. And then in Facebook also around a 300 million audience. Rest all are 50, 100 million sort of things like I would say Chingaris of the world, which came up when TikTok had fallen down, or a shared chat or something of that sort. So that's one aspect. The other aspect to look at it, if you look at how the media industry has been progressing, if you look at advertising spends, so that's a good indicator of who is spending where. That gives you the trend. So, and I am quoting something which I read in Dentsu. Dentsu publishes this report. So the industry, if I look at 2020 versus 2019, 2019 was around 68,000 crore advertising revenues. It fell by 17% to 56,000 odd crores. So minus 17.5%. But if you look at TV in 2019 versus 2020, TV went up from TV actually declined by 11%. But as a contribution from 39% moved up to 41% of that 56,000 crore revenue. Digital, despite the headwinds, grew by 15% in 2020. And digital from 20% moved up to 28%. Print went down from 29 to 25%. So print actually, for reasons we all of us know, newspapers got halted. Many of the, we know, I am from Bombay, the Mumbai Mirror thing, they can't publish it now for 7 days or something of that sort. So a lot of publications closed down, but they're going online. Okay, so now that's becoming digital, because that's how people are going to consume. Okay, so this is the construct of the industry. I think what is very, very important to note is, while so people say digital sab kuch overpower kar dega, it's not true. To be very honest, if you look at next 4-5 years projection, 2 years projection lete hai, so the industry is going to grow at 11%. So TV will be in and around contribution wise 40%. Digital will move from this 28 to 33, 34%. So digital will grow at twice the pace, 22, 23%, that sort of. So by 2025, probably they will be equal. It's not that it will be wiped away. That's one way of looking at it. Now let's look at, because you say media mix and reach. So let's look at a category like e-com. Okay. So when you look at e-com, our understanding is the entire platform is digital. But are you aware that they spend their 45% spends are in TV and 39% spends are in digital. So they also need TV to reach to their audience. And then around 14% is in, I would say, in print. Vis-a-vis, look at FMCG. FMCG is more mass. Okay, a sabun or a talcum powder or a biscuit, it has to go to the hinterland. So 64% is in TV. Okay, and digital is not small, but it's 19%. So it depends on which industry you are in. Parallelly, if you look at telecom, very evenly balanced, 50% in TV, 40% in digital. Okay, and if you look at banking, I think that's the biggest spend as a sector. 57% of their spend is in digital. Okay, so that's how retail, around, I think 45-46% is in print, because if there is a Toyota showroom, they will always put up these ads, this car and this and that. That is how it has been, and that is how they have defined their reach. So it entirely depends on which segment you are in, who is your audience, which platform your audience goes into, and what type of message do you want to give them. Basis that, you have to define your media mix. There is no hard and fast rule, and you can't just say somebody else is doing digital or print, I will also do that. And it's continuously evolving. So that's my take on how the media landscape looks like.
Right. I think yes, because the shift is of course towards digital, but we all love reading newspapers, love taking up, moving out of the home and then seeing around the things. So of course, yes, probably this is going to be the way forward, as you are rightly suggesting about. So again, now let's little bit discussion around performance marketing. Is it a jargon, or what is it real into it? The deep down aspect of your take.
So see, to be very honest, I had been a marketer now for more than a decade, hardcore marketing. I have not done anything without a performance aspect to it. So you need not name it performance and all those things, but end of the day, whenever you do a campaign, what is the purpose? There has to be a purpose. There has to be a brand score. You are looking at a brand score or something like a brand recall, something like a category discovery, something like you want to sell something, cross-selling, upselling, or something of that sort. Okay, you're giving discount. So nothing without performance. I think in corporate, everything is about performance. Okay, so to me, it's a jargon. I think where at times we are going wrong is, I'll tell you, we are mixing a lot of things. So, and this, I quote a gentleman called Mark Ritson, whom I follow. He is one of the, he's a marketing guru and a professor, and he's also a consultant. So he speaks about, if you look at overall marketing landscape, you can consider three concentric circles. So the inner circle is basically your, it's called the marketing orientation circle, which basically means who is your customer, what is the profile of your customer, as simple as that, and what product do you have to offer. The second band, which is the second concentric circle, is the strategic band, which fundamentally is about segmentation, targeting, positioning. Which is the strategy, which is the segment, and is it meaty enough for you, and how do you target it, and what's your positioning. And the third band is the tactical band, which is the outermost circle, which actually, if we consider that the three bands are rotating, that's the fastest moving. Okay, and that's the tactical band, and the tactical band has all this technology, all these what we call martech, all this content marketing, all those things. What is happening is we are at times probably confusing all these things, this martech thing and this technology, and targeting 1,000 ads to 1,000 different customers as marketing. The core of marketing remains same. You have to understand your customers, you have to have a value proposition for them, and then you have to do this segmentation, targeting, position. And these are all tools available at your disposal and platforms available at your disposal, which you need to deploy. So fundamentally, I believe that these are all jargons, to be very honest. No marketer does campaigns without a performance metrics. Okay, and if there is a performance metrics, performance is there, it's inbuilt. Without performance, then it's not market. Then that marketer will lose his or her job very soon, because there is no, you are not able to measure the impact, right? So it's a jargon as far as I'm concerned.
That's perfect. So as per anyone, you have to ensure whatever your campaign's objectives are, prepare it from the ROI aspect, and then move it, take it forward. Great.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.